So far, in the previous movies, we've talked about most of the types that we're going to be working with in PHP. There's one more type that I want us to look at before we move on, and that is constants. Let's go ahead and create ourselves a new work area. I'm going to do that by doing Save As on my typecasting file, and I'm going to create a new file called constants, and save it in my PHP sandbox, and then I'm going to just erase everything that I had in here so that I have a nice clean workspace to work with, and put constants at the top, and I'll save that. Now, constants are going to be really easy for us to talk about because they're very similar to variables. The only difference is they don't vary. They are constant, and that makes a lot of sense to us. So let's go ahead and open my PHP tags, and now, instead of just simply saying something like maximum width equals 980, so instead of setting a variable like max width equals 980, we can instead define a constant, such as define, and then quotes, max width, quotes, comma, 980. Now this essentially does the same thing. We've assigned the maximum width variable the value of 980. A couple of differences here. Obviously, it's in all caps. That lets us know that it's a constant. It also doesn't have a $sign in front of it because it's a constant, not a variable. And variables are what have the $sign in front of them. So when we want to talk about the max width, we're going to refer to it without the $sign and with all caps. But we won't be able to change that value. So let's say we just echo back max width to our browser and see what that gives us. We'll come up over here and we'll load up constants. And it gave us back 980. So now it's constant. We shouldn't be able to change the value. So let's go ahead and try it just for fun. max width. Let's use our plus equals 1 notation. And then we'll ask it to once again echo back maximum width to us. Now I don't have a BR tag in there. Let's go ahead and add that just so that it comes out nice and pretty. There we go. And let's load that back up in our browser. Parse error, unexpected. You cannot apply it to constants, basically, is what it's saying. We cannot do the plus equal with this constant. It can't change. If we instead use the variable max width that we worked with, and we just swap those out, then we come back over here and you'll see that it can change. It's 981. So that's the difference. Now we'll use these in certain circumstances when we're doing application development later, and you'll see how it works. But basically, for the length of this script, for the duration of this page, max width is going to be fixed and unchangeable at 980. Now, when we load up another page, that's a new PHP page, a new request, and it can be changed then. It can be something else on a different page. So it's for the duration of this PHP page, for the duration of this request, we're locked in at that value. It's not going to be saved from request to request. That's an important point to remember. But that's really all there is to constants. They're basically like variables. Most times you're going to want to use variables because you want to at least have the option of changing those. But there are going to be a few circumstances. Maybe you want to define a username and a password or something to let your database log in with. And you would want to define those with a constant because they shouldn't be changeable. They'll always be the same. And we can go in and edit the file if we ever need to change them to something different. But that's all there is to constants. So now we can move on to the meat of programming, which are going to be control structures, if-then statements, and loops. And we'll first look at if-then statements in the very next chapter.